We got several different stories to cover here from several different media outlets. It's time for another episode of the premiere of the world's news round. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another episode of the World's News Round, where I cover various news and stories from outside the UK. We've got a variety of ones here for you guys. We've got five stories in particular, and then we're going to be looking at some reports from Ukraine. And if we have time, we'll look at what's called the Deep State map, which is a map of the current conflict taking place and the war in Ukraine. But before I go into all that stuff, guys, just a reminder. This is something that I do in every premiere video and live stream. So today, on this being a premiere for you guys, will be on the 3rd of November. And today's quote, which I do on, I'm getting into the habit of doing for you guys. So, and by the way, if you want to see these quotes, they are posted on all my social medias. Links down below if you ever want to see them there as well. Today's one on the 3rd of November is "We think too much and feel too little." Make what you will of that quote, whether it might help you or not help you. Take it on board or don't take it on board. It's entirely up to you. So we have several stories here, and just before I start, this is being recorded on Saturday, the 2nd of November 2024, at around 11 a.m. UK time, just for reference as well. The first story I have for you guys is from CNN. It is armed groups kidnap military personnel and seize base in central Bolivia, the military says. Now, we did cover a very small story regarding Bolivia. I think it was earlier this week or last week. And while Bolivia is not really a country we really talk about too much, we've talked quite a various bit. We've talked in the past about Brazil. We talked about Colombia. We talked about Venezuela quite a lot in South America, because Venezuela's obviously had been a lot in the world headlines a lot this year because they had their election. And not only that did they have their election, there was obviously the kerfuffle over the with Guyana over a certain territory, the historical nation there as well. But Bolivia is not really one that we talk a lot about. It is a country that's not in a very good position. There's a lot of destabilization and is pretty much very, very much struggling. You know, it's a landlocked country as well. So it's not, so it relies on its neighbors, obviously, for trade and resources to get to them. So obviously a story like this is obviously very concerning. You know, kidnapping military personnel like that just, you know, you're not just talking about innocent people. We're talking about military personnel. That just tells you just how out of control things are becoming in the South American country. So an armed group has taken control of a military post in central Bolivia, the country's most armed forces said on Friday. According to the Bolivian military statement, the irregular armed group kidnapped military personnel and seized weapons and ammunition from the base situated near the central Bolivian city of Cochabamba. If I mispronounce any names, I do apologize in advance. The Bolivian president, Luis Arca, said the armed group was affiliated with former President Evo Morales, but did not offer evidence for the claim. CNN has reached out to Morales' team for comment. Yeah, so there's been this claim that Morales, the former president, has been behind these things to try and intimidate and whatnot. There has been a lot of that talk around on this. So you're going to hear that name Morales for quite a bit whenever you associate with Bolivia. The armed forces statement urged the group to leave the barracks immediately and peacefully, emphasizing that these actions would be considered treason to the country. The incident is the latest escalation in a period of unrest in the South American country as Morales and Arca's clash ahead of the 2025 election. Yeah, this is going to be a very hot election without a shadow of a doubt. In recent weeks, Morales' supporters have set up blockages on major highways across the country, including in Cochabamba, and in reaction the government unveiled human trafficking charges against Morales. The blockages, which Bolivian police said involve violent armed groups, have led to food and fuel shortages in some cities. Yeah, so unfortunately, because of this, innocent people have suffered as a result in Bolivia as a result of these actions. Morales and the government has also traded accusations of exchange that occurred in Cochabamba last weekend. The Bolivian Minister of Government, Eduardo Del Casado, alleged that individuals in a car carrying Morales opened fire on the police while trying to evade a checkpoint. to set up to deter drug trafficking. The former president denied the charge and accused the government of trying to orchestrate his assassination by firing at his vehicle. CNN has reached out to the Bolivian government for more information on events at the military base. So, yeah, this is all that I have at the moment. But yeah, we covered actually he claimed he was trying to be, there was an assassination attempt on him. I think it was when we last covered him. But obviously, obviously this happening as well. And I think we talked about it before about the blockages and setup that they had as well. So obviously, obviously cutting off food and supply, it's concerning, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, for the innocent people involved in all this. But there's obviously history here that probably you and I probably don't know enough about. But all I can say is that I hope some peaceful resolution will come, but something tells me that's not going to be the case, and I think it's already going to get ramped up even further and further as they head towards the 2025 general election. And just while I've got you guys here, I'm just going to actually have a look and just see for you guys. I've seen of when is what the date of that election will be, just for reference, guys. So it will be until according to this Sunday the 17th of August is supposed to be the next election according to Google here. So it's quite a long time until then. So we're talking about literally like 6-8 months, 8 months plus until then. So it's a long time before the next for their election there. So yeah, not ideal really, for sure. The next story I've got for you guys is from Euronews. We'll be talking more about Ukraine, but I wanted to cover this one separately because it's quite interesting that this has been stated when we're so close to the edge of when we're literally just a few days away from the US elections. So the Pentagon said it will send an additional $425 million in military aid to Ukraine soon. Now, I would not commit. I think they should be hesitant to send anything to Ukraine, especially considering Donald Trump's rhetoric about how he feels about Ukraine. We know his position is more favorable to Russia than Ukraine, and I can see him obviously clamping down on any kind of aid, support and whatnot for Ukraine. And I will not promise or guarantee within the next days that they will send anything until the outcome of the election is kind of settled. I can understand them wanting to get things out before then, but we're literally in the last few legs of the election. We will come more to the US election shortly, but don't get me wrong. I always want more aid, more resources sent to Ukraine to help them keep up the fighting. But considering President Trump, who he could potentially be president once again, I'm very cautious about sending aid. Starting that process of sending military aid, and then Donald Trump just kind of like just stopping it dead in its track when he becomes president, because I can see him doing that. So the new aid package includes weapons that could be pulled from existing US stockpiles, including air defense interceptors from National Advanced Surface-to-Missile Systems and munitions from HIMARS rocket systems. So the Pentagon said it will send an additional $425 million in military assistance to Ukraine as Kiev prepares to face Russian forces, augmented by more than 10,000 North Korean troops. Yeah, we talked about this before on the Safe Lake Corner as well. And we saw some video footage of them being dressed, putting on Russian uniform and preparing to stand and fight for Russia. We also know some reports have been stated, I think it's from a US source there, stated that some North Korean troops have now been stationed around the Kursk region, where Ukraine has seized some Russian territory. So it looks like they're going to be using some North Korean troops potentially there. Where other places they'll be, obviously time will tell, but yeah, they're going to be using North Korean troops. I can just see them being used nothing more as human shields, thrown into the meat grinder sort of thing, because rather than Russians losing their lives, I can see Russia using them like that. There needs to be something needs to be done by the UN and the United Nations and Western allies need to respond to this somehow. They can't just simply sit by and allow another country to send its troops to aid them, and we ourselves on the side and aside in support of Ukraine not want to send troops to Ukraine. Like, you're literally saying North Korea has declared war on Ukraine with this because they're advocating this war. That's literally it. They'll deny it, but that's literally what they're doing because they are literally complying in this war with their own soldiers. I mean, yes, Western forces are compliant in it too with the weapons and arms, but they're putting actual bodies involved. So the new aid package announced by the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin includes weapons that will be pulled from existing US stockpiles, including air defense interceptors from the National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missiles, munitions from high-mobility artillery rocket systems, and 155mm artillery and armored vehicles and anti-tank weapons. So the aid package announced by the Pentagon brings the total amount of military assistance to the US has provided Ukraine since Russia invaded Ukraine. In $60.4 billion has been they have sent to Ukraine in all of this. Let me just pause there. Eastern Ukrainian cities face an onslaught of Russian missile strikes, including one in Kharkov by a 500-kilogram guide bomb. The attacks on Thursday hit in a apartment complex, killing 3 and injuring several others. Russia has increasingly used powerful glide bombs to pummel Ukrainian positions along the 1,000-kilometer line of contact and strike cities dozens of kilometers from the front line. Ukraine is also facing fresh uncertainty as waves of North Korean soldiers deployed to Russia have arrived near Ukraine's border and are prepared to join the fight against Ukrainian troops in the coming days. Meanwhile, Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has pushed back against Western military support for Ukraine, accusing European countries of not being interested in a peaceful resolution to the war and saying providing Kiev with weapons only prolongs the fighting. It was Western politicians who, on the contrary, did everything possible to ensure that no realistic peace agreement was signed in April 2022, shortly after the outbreak of the conflict. And Zelensky's peace plan fell into the dust as unrealistic, Fico said in a video message recorded in Beijing. And instead of the emergence of a new version, the Ukrainian president presented a victory plan in what he calls for the medium and long-range missiles to be able to hit targets on the territory of Russian Federation. This plan does not lead to peace. Just a day after taking office in October last year, Fico suspended all military aid deliveries to Ukraine, saying the EU should not change from an arms supplier to a peacemaker. However, he did say that deliveries of aid to Kiev would come. The government's decision prompted regular Slovakians to dig deep and provide much-needed cash for Ukrainian military operations. In April, a crowdfunding campaign to buy artillery shells raised €1 million in less than 48 hours after it was launched. Wow. But the Latvian capital Riga, Estonia's Prime Minister Christian Michael, said the war in Ukraine was about our freedom and urged other European countries to follow the Baltic example by providing Kiev with the means to win the war. If you allow somebody to change borders by force and after that negotiate about it, and come on, I don't know what kind of example you would set, he said, adding that supporting Ukraine's military was the only way. In 2024, Estonia pledged more than €100 million in military aid for Ukraine, with Latvia promising €112 million as well. If you allow Russia, I understand the fatigue that people feel about this conflict. I understand the fatigue, the tiredness. I understand the money, the weapons and supplies that are being poured into this conflict. I totally understand all those frustrations. And I know people are feeling fatigued about the Ukraine war. I know people are. But if we allow Ukraine, to fall, then we are justifying Russia's aggression. We are saying that it is okay for Russia to seize territory. It's okay for Russia to bully others. It's okay for them to do what they want. We're literally giving them permission to do it, And who's to say that Russia can't one day invade the UK, while the rest of the world just stands by and allows that to happen? Because that's entirely possible. It's unlikely, but it is possible. We're supposed to be there for each other, looking after each other. And I know it's not a NATO country, but still, we're supposed to be standing up there and support each other if a NATO country is attacked. If that dare happens, are we going to stand? Are we going to stand united against Russia? Questions, of course. The next one I got for you guys is from African News. It's a good sign, but more needs to be done here. So the World Health Organization said almost 1 million mpox vaccines have been allocated to Africa. So if you haven't seen the short story already on my channel, the first case of mpox was detected in the UK, and the person is being treated for it. But obviously, when the diseases and whatnot are allowed to spread unchallenged and not dealt with, it can come out. It's not just obviously in the countries of Africa. They can spread to other nations, and it could become a pandemic. Hence, COVID, for example. Obviously, that's a different thing, but it's entirely possible that diseases and whatnot, viruses, they mutate, they can change and they can adapt. And if they're not dealt with, and mpox could potentially mutate into something more worse if it's not something that's dealt with. 1 million sounds like a lot, but it's nowhere near the amount of enough for the amount of people that live in the continent. The population is humongous in there, many of the nations. So the World Health Organization on Friday said almost 1 million doses of mpox vaccines have been allocated to 9 countries in Africa. This follows the establishment last month of Access and Allocation Mechanism, AAM, to support the equitable and timely access to mpox vaccines in Africa. So far, more than 50,000 people have been vaccinated against mpox in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, thanks to donations from the United States and the European Commission, said the WHO Director General, Dr. Geros, sorry, I can't say the rest of his name, Abraham, there. So that's a good sign. Obviously, two nations there. They, even though they're not on the best of relationships right now, it's 50,000 is still a very good number. But yeah, it's a start. Is the best way to describe it. The announcement comes after Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, said mpox cases were showing a 500% increase from last year and now impacting 19 countries. So yeah, this is what happens, guys. By the way. Especially those people who call for less foreign aid and whatnot. This is what happens when you stop helping and aiding other countries. You allow things to run amok, and you can put up all the walls and blocks that you can. But if a disease can get out of control, it can come knocking on your door if you're not careful. And we should be mindful of that. And we should do everything we can to prevent the diseases spreading in the first place, regardless of wherever it is. Not just obviously the country that you are from, but where it originates from as well. But 500% increase from last year. That's an enormous increase. An enormous increase. And by the way, that will just be from what they have. That's from their analysis and what they have seen on the ground. It's not so much what the numbers could be higher than what they actually know. They can't have an exact number because it's kind of hard to read. Because not everyone can go to the doctors, not everyone can reach the doctors on certain countries, obviously. The WHO declared mpox a global health emergency in mid-August, after a new strain, Clade 1b, began spreading from the Democratic Republic of Congo to neighbouring countries. He said this week the allocation of some 900,000 doses of vaccines was based on public health need, especially with those with significant transmission or the new variant. The Director General said this was the first allocation of almost 6 million vaccines doses that we expect to be available by the end of 2024. This is an important step towards bringing the mpox outbreak under control as part of the WHO and the Africa CDC Share Strategic Response Plan, he said. However, he said it was important to note that vaccination is only part of the plan, alongside case findings, contact tracing, infection prevention and control, clinical care, risk communication and testing. Yeah, it's only one part of the system that can help them. It is only one part of that system. There is obviously still more needs to be done, but it's a start. I wouldn't say it's a start, but it's progress is what I would call it. It's so important that we make sure that we manage and continue to supply aid to these nations as much as we possibly can, and give them the resources, and especially the WHO, the resources they need to be able to help these nations deal with these diseases and strains. But while there is obviously political and war and conflict that take place in some of these countries, we need they need to understand that their wars and conflicts cannot continue if they're all ended up catching this disease, because they could potentially catch this disease and die from them potentially as well if they're allowed to run amok. And this is the message you need to put to put to some of these wars and conflicts as well, is that hey, if we keep doing it, if you guys want to stop us providing vaccines and whatnot to your people, just remember, if you guys catch these diseases, we won't be able to help you because you guys won't let us help you help the people around you. So that could be one way of obviously helping it. But yeah, million is nowhere near enough. But yeah, 500% increase since last year. It's just asking for a mutation that's kind of come, guys. Don't rule out the possibility of another future pandemic. It's just not worth it. You can ignore it, but it could come back to bite us, guys. So just a reminder before we go to the next article, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just 99p. Literally, memberships for just 99p. It may not sound like a lot, but you get a lot of perks for doing it. You get access to custom emojis. Whenever you comment on any of my videos as a member, you always get a response from me in every couple of days. Gets you access to membership community posts, and you get early access to content before it comes out as well. So you get all these perks just by being a 99p member, and it really does financially support me in the work that I do, not just here on YouTube, but across other social media platforms that I do, promoting my content, not just here on YouTube, but on TikTok, on Instagram, on Rumble or Patreon, and Threads and Facebook, all those where I put many of my content out on all these multiple platforms. And I can only do it without financial support by you guys. It really does make a massive difference. So thank you to anyone who has supported me that way. It's greatly appreciated. Other ways, you can buy me a coffee or join the Patreon. Like I said, links for those are also down in the description. If you want to find me on any other social medias, there's a link called the Linktree in the description. Click that and you'll see all my social medias, even non-political ones as well. And do check out the Discord community, which is free to join as well. We have a Discord community that's completely free to join as well, and you're more than welcome to join us on there as well. So the next one I've got for you guys is from the New York Times. The headline is Trump is preparing to challenge the results and put his 2020 playbook into action. So step by step, Donald J. Trump and his allies are following the strategy that caused chaos 4 years ago. Election officials say they are ready this time. Yeah, so that's a good sign. This is from the New York Times, just a reminder. Yeah, it's really, really important, regardless of what the outcome of the election is, whether Trump wins or Kamala wins. They need to be ready for chaos. They need to be ready for claiming any kind of election rigging. They need to be ready for anyone who says that it's rigged or it's been against them or whatever. Because if Kamala does win by popular vote, if she does get the majority of people behind her, all these celebrity endorsements that have come out as recently as well, regardless of what polls are saying, it's those who are sitting on the fence who are not 100% sure. It's really, really important that election officials are ready for the rigging claim, because they're going to do everything and anything they can to challenge this result. And judges need to be ready, officials need to be ready. If they're not ready for this, because they were not ready for this last year, and what happened on that January the 6th, that 4 years back in what happened on January the 6th was absolute horror back several years ago. That was an obviously terrible tragedy and a very dark day for America. So America needs to be ready for this. And I do believe they're much more prepared for this. And I think the fact that you've had a Biden administration, yes, a Democratic administration in charge, being able to kind of try and keep things balanced and make sure that these election officials are taking all necessary precautions when it comes to this, taking all the necessary precautions of doing this to ensure that it is as legal and as fair as it possibly can be with the way this election is done. It really, really does matter. Now, I'm still hoping Kamala wins. My hope is that Kamala Harris does win. I totally understand why some people don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. don't want to vote for her based on, like, for example, what's happening in Gaza. Some people feel that there's not going to be the change that they want as well. Some people don't want to vote for her because she is the establishment as well, which is one of the rhetorics that was used back in 2016 against Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump was an unknown figure. But a lot of people know who Donald Trump is now. But even though Donald Trump is, in my mind, is a bit of a wacko and seems someone who, in my opinion, will destroy the world, because I generally do that, and will be the death nail in Ukraine, and I actually think he'll make lives worse rather than better for people. People still believe that he is their savior. He believes that people believe that he will change the country for the better. He will save them. Even though he did bugger all from 2016, he really didn't do a lot when he was in power. He had all the power. He had the House, he had the Senate, he had all the control. He could do anything he wants, and they squandered that opportunity. They didn't do anything with that time. They really didn't do anything. So, knife edge, guys, knife edge. So, former President Donald J. Trump and his allies are rolling out a late-stage campaign strategy that borrowed heavily from the Subserve Playbook that he used to challenge his loss 4 years ago. This time with reinforcements from outside groups built on the false notion of a stolen election. With Election Day only 3 days away at the time of this recording, Mr. Trump is already claiming that Democrats are a bunch of cheats, and his allies in battleground states spread distortionate reports of mishaps at the polls to push a narrative of widespread fraud. Mr. Trump and his most prominent supporters have pointed to partisan polling and betting markets to claim that he's heading for a crushing victory, and his top surrogate Elon Musk recently put it, the expectation helps set the stage for disbelief and outrage among his supporters that should he lose. Yeah, there's a lot of fake polls and fake betting outlets to make it claim. Everyone is indicating, oh, Trump won this, Trump was comfortable, and yet somehow lost. You know, polls and all that are saying that Trump's win, Trump is going to be a Trump win, and if he ends up losing, they're going to claim it's rigged. And it's like, well, no, you can't, like, polls aren't always 100% accurate anyway. So, yeah, that's why, like, I did think about covering a poll as a news article, but I thought, like, you just can't take any of them seriously. You really cannot. And in the direct ego of his failed and prosecutors say illegal bid to remain in power after the 2020 election, some of his most influential advisors are suggesting he will yet again seek to claim victory before all the votes are counted, a move that ushered in his efforts to deny his defeat 4 years ago and helped set the stage for the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. In many respects, though, the effort that led to January the 6th never ended. It's been 4 years of spreading lies about elections and recruiting volunteers to challenge the system, filling litigation, and Joanna Lingate, Chief Executive of the States United Democracy Center, a non-profit group that works for state officials to bolster confidence in their election. What we're seeing today is all of that coming to fruition. The Trump campaign did not respond to an email seeking comment. In a statement, Damon Reese, a top lawyer for Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign, said it isn't surprising that he is already questioning the results of the still ongoing election, and added, he failed when he tried this in 2020, and he will fail again. Polls show the race is effectively tied, leaving the possibility that Mr. Trump will win and have no reason to dispute the outcome. In that case, the question will be whether to accept the results would fall to Mr. Harris, who has said she will uphold free and fair elections and for the peaceful transfer of power. For all similarities, these are important differences between now and 2020, some of which reassert the coalition of civil rights lawyers, Democrats, Republicans, and election administrators working to prevent a repeat of 2020. Congress has passed a new law, the Electoral Count Reform Act, meant to make it hard to stop the final certification of the result by Congress on January 6, as Mr. Trump tried to do 4 years ago. Mr. Trump will no longer has control of the federal government, which he has sought to use to press for his 2020 case. In the states, there are few like-minded Republicans in key positions of power than they were 4 years ago. Some of the loudest Claritons for stolen election theories have paid heavily for circulating them, including Fox News, which last year paid Dominion Voting Systems $787 million to settle a lawsuit over the network's promotion of false theories that Dominion machines had switched votes. Yeah, Fox, in its undying loyalty to Donald Trump, suffered a huge amount of loss of money. Probably a bit more cautious about talking about it this time around because they don't want to get sued. and the experience of 2020, along with the most recent clashes over voting issues, has taught election administrators lessons about fortifying themselves against similar efforts this year. You have the benefit of something that has happened once before, said the Pennsylvania Secretary of State, Al Schmidt, a Republican. You learn from it and it guides you moving forward. But with the threat of another chaotic post-election period remains, while Mr. Trump no longer has the control of the federal government, a movement of activists have succeeded in putting electoral doubting conservatives in position across the voting system, as poll watchers, election workers, and even local officials in charge of certifying local results. The new law has loopholes that Mr. Trump could try to exploit. For instance, the new law sets a new hard deadline in which states must send their final certification election result to Washington ahead of the Electoral College vote. But some Trump-aligned officials have called for blocking certification at the local level, raising the possibility that the process could be stalled ahead of that deadline. The law has no clear remedy for cases where it would be missed. Finally, though some news organizations like Fox and Newsmax have faced serious defamation claims for spreading conspiracy theories about Dominion voting machines, the major social media platforms have dramatically scaled back efforts to curb false content. None have gone further than X, former Twitter, whose founder Elon Musk has actively used the platform to promote that sense that Mr. Trump is destined to win and wants to spread his own false voting claims. There has been a lot of investment by allies of President Trump to suggest that his victory is inevitable, said David Becker, Executive Director of the Center of Election Innovation and Research, a non-partisan organization that advises electoral officials. That's the expectation is being set among some of his supporters. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to Election Day going on X and finding that my feed is full of Elon Musk. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that at all, if I'm honest. Step 1. Claim victory. The period leading up to Election Day has featured several scenes that seem to be ripped from the court filings in the federal case charging Mr. Trump with election interfering over his actions after his defeat in 2020. Mr. Trump has pleaded not guilty. When Steve K. Bannon, an influential right-wing media figure and close Trump advisor, was released from prison on Tuesday, he quickly told reporters that Mr. Trump should act prematurely on election night and simply claim victory. As Mr. Bannon said, he should stand up and say, "Hey, I won this, and we have teams right now that are going to make sure that this thing is not going to be stolen." In recent filed court papers naming Mr. Bannon as co-conspirator in Mr. Trump's federal election interference case, the special counsel Jack Smith noted that Mr. Bannon has said the same thing 4 years ago. Yeah, they said the same thing 4 years ago there. You can see there's one tracking poll there, 49-48 there. Yeah, you can't call that. The swing states there, you can see some of the swing states there. It's just some of the other info if you want to keep up with New York Times. What Trump is going to do is just declare victory, right? He said, according to the records, later adding, that doesn't mean that he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner. But Trump did just that. Unleashed a barrage of lawsuits challenging swing state results, nearly all of which failed as various judges found claims of fraud to be lacking. That legal failure did not stop his efforts. He and several allies then sought to convince Republican legislators in states that President Joseph R. Biden had won that they had the power to submit their own states of pro-Trump electoral college delegates, effectively rejecting the popular vote. Several of these involved in that operation were later indicated. Yeah, but the thing is, one of the things that I'll never forget is that phone call where he claimed that he needed 40,000 more votes. He's like, the phone call was very clear. It wasn't fake. It was like, I need 40,000 more votes. Saying that he needs those votes, even though they weren't real. He had no evidence to make that claim. He still makes a claim that the election was stolen from him. He still has no evidence for it. He literally goes into Joe Rogan's podcast. I talked about this. He literally goes on Joe Rogan's podcast and says, like, next time I come in, I'll show you the evidence. I've got evidence of it. And it's just like, why have you never published it then? You keep saying you have evidence, and yet you don't show it. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a proven liar. The new law specifies that only governors and other executives can send electors to Washington, cutting state legislators out of the process. And yet some Trump allies have always suggested they could turn again to state lawmakers. An architect of the 2020 strategy, John Eastman, recently told Politico that he believes the new law was unconstitutional. Mr. Eastman is under indictment in Arizona and Georgia over his 2020 election activities and has pleaded not guilty in both states. So, doubt. Step 2. Elections always bring a range of human and technological errors, but Mr. Trump and his allies have distorted the nature of such events, painting them as evidence of democratic wrongdoing. They have already started cheating in Lancaster, Mr. Trump said at a rally on Tuesday night in Allentown, Pennsylvania. A day earlier, he had posted on Truth Social that Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, had discovered fake ballots and forms. Okay, sure they have. Pennsylvania was cheating and getting caught in large-scale levels rarely seen before, he declared later in the week. In reality, the episode in Lancaster was worrisome, but was not evidence of widespread malfeasance. Election officials said that a batch of suspicious registration applications, not ballots, had been turned in by a canvassing firm. Officials reported them to law enforcement agencies. Yeah. What you could also potentially see is, this is just giving me an idea, what you could see from the really nasty Trump supporters, but some of the Trump hardcores will put in or try to mess it up in some way, shape, or form. Try to bring in maybe even fake ballots to try and make it seem like that they're being taken away and whatnot. They will do anything to undermine the election to make it claim that Trump won. In 2020, it was the fringe of Mr. Trump's advisors and allies that cheered on him. Now the entire party machinery and the prominent and influential allies are using various levels to claim publicly that the only way Mr. Trump can lose is through cheating. The Republican National Committee, which is now under a joint leadership of the former president's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, and the one-time party counsel, Michael Whatley, has made election integrity a top priority. The lawyer in charge of the committee's election integrity team, Christina Bobb, was charged with conspiracy by the Arizona Attorney General in connection with her efforts to keep Mr. Trump in power 4 years ago. She pleaded not guilty. Last week, Mr. Whatley posted online about the arrest of a woman at a polling station in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, who had been urging voters to remain in line, calling the incident election interference. The local authorities later defended the arrest, saying the woman had been acting disruptively. Using another tactic from 2020, Mr. Trump and his allies have also complained this year that the states like Pennsylvania and Arizona are unlikely to finish counting votes until well after election day, suggesting the delays are somehow improper or nervousness. In the 2020, conspiracy theories about the pace of the vote count were some of the first to swing in the days after Mr. Trump's defeat. Election officials note that mail ballots can take more time to count and that the delays are not a sign of trouble. Still, they have been working to spread the process, knowing that they are still in the race against misinformation. You've got to decrease the amount of time, said the Secretary of State in Nevada, Cisco Aguilar, shutting down the chatter. It's going to take time because of the way their system works. It's not all going to be declared on the first day, but Trump will try and do that. Step 3 is disrupt. So while Mr. Trump's 2020 effort was chiefly focused on disrupting the last step of the election, certification of the result in Congress, Mr. Trump's allies this year have been zeroed in on vulnerabilities at the beginning of the process. That starts with about 10,000 local jurisdictions where officials have a mandate to certify the votes before sending them up in their state capitals, which upon their own statewide certification then sent their totals and delegate states on to Washington. Though the task is prescribed by law as mandatory throughout the states, board and commission members at least 20 countries across 8 states have moved to block certification, in some rare cases succeeding at least temporarily. Officials across the swing states have prepared legal papers to force any recalculation boards to certify results on time. Both sides are paying close attention to the process, with which Mr. Bannon seems to hint during his remarks this week. The only thing that matters, he said, is that the votes can be certified from American citizens, and that's what we're focused on. Yeah. Whatever happens, it's going to be like I can see people getting hurt. I can see violence breaking out. I can see it, guys. I can see it. Even with all the barriers and everything they've got in place, I can just see them doing it, making things worse and trying to undermine it in some way, shape, or form. I really can. I don't want it to, but I can see them doing it. I wonder if Kamala has done enough. You know, a lot of people are literally lending their votes to Democrats to try and save themselves from Donald Trump. Not so much from Republicans, but from Donald Trump. But I will be doing a live stream on election day on Tuesday. The Snowflake Corner be a US special, so I'll be looking more then, guys. So we'll step away from the US election and take a little break. I've got a couple more things to cover here on the World's News Round. I hope you guys enjoyed this funny little video just to kind of break things down a little bit. And this funny video is called The Irish Guy on the 4th of July. Hope you enjoy.
Out there, some sort of party or something.
It's the 4th of July.
Yeah, I know the date.
What? No, we're celebrating Independence Day.
Oh, the movie with Will Smith.
What?
That's class. You know when he goes like, welcome to Earth. And he...
The 4th of July is when we celebrate our independence from British rule.
The British? But I thought it was the British who set up America in the first place.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So you got independence from yourselves?
Well, no, when you
Because normally it's like the native people who get independence from the colonizers.
Well, sure, yeah, but
was the colonizers who got independence from the colonizers?
Yeah.
Sounds kind of ungreat.
Oh no, okay, hold on, buddy. We fought the British just like you guys did in Ireland.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, yes, we just did a little bit quicker. It only took us about 200 years. You guys were what, 800?
Yeah, but like you're miles away. You know, try living next to them. You're like the computer game on easy mode.
You guys didn't even get your whole country back, did you?
No, Northern Ireland. Yeah, it's kind of like your Canada, I suppose.
I don't think that's accurate.
So how'd you get your independence anyway?
Oh well, it all started with the Tea Party.
Lions or berries?
What? No.
Not chamomile.
What? No. Then we went on to fight the Redcoats.
The Redcoats?
The British.
Huh, jeez, they didn't even bother dressing up for us. We just had the black and tans. Oh, what was that?
Oh, sorry, don't worry, no. That's just the fireworks. It's just part of the 4th of July celebrations.
Oh, yeah, fireworks are class, aren't they? I think I might pick up some myself. Do you know where I can buy them?
Now, hold on, buddy. This is the US. You can't just walk into a shop and buy fireworks. There are strict regulations.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. Same as Ireland.
Yeah. Imagine being able to buy something as dangerous as that just over the counter.
Yeah, true. That'd be insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, I better get back to the lads. Could I get a Hershey's bar, please, and a handgun?
Yeah, sure thing, buddy.
Go, man.
Handgun as well. Oh, Jesus. The right to bear arms, guys. The right to bear arms. They have the right to bear arms. Don't have to. Yeah, I know, guys. I know. Anyway, so I hope you guys found that funny either way. Okay, the next story I've got for you guys is from Al Jazeera. It's on climate diplomacy. Can smog bring India and Pakistan together? So Pakistan's Punjab Chief Minister wants to start a dialogue with her Indian counterpart for a joint effort to tackle deadly air pollution, which has enveloped cities on both sides of the border. Yeah, this is not good. If there's one, if there's a part of the world that's really struggling with smog and smoke, it is over in Asia. I don't know if or how much of China has been working on this, if I'm honest. I get mixed messaging from some people on it. But obviously, with two nations like India and Pakistan, with some of the huge population that they have, this is without a doubt a big crisis. But the problem is, it's like how do you get them out of this kind of out into the... You get them in... You can't... Can they really go into the technological age? Do they have the resources to do so? How do you get more people off their cars and on out of their motorbikes there, and get them more to use more greener energy, sort of thing? It's a challenge. It's a challenge because when you've been used to something for so long, and especially when your country is as big and as popular the population as like India and Pakistan, and they're huge countries. You know, it requires a great deal of infrastructure if you want to try and change that normality. But perhaps maybe, despite, I know Pakistan and India are not always on the same wavelength because of history there, but it would be nice if they could do something about the smog, that is for sure. So let's read into this, guys. So relations between the nuclear armed neighbours Pakistan and India have largely remained tense and stagnant for years. Now an unlikely catalyst is promising to facilitate dialogue between them. Deadly smog that is enveloping key cities in both countries. A senior government official from Punjab, Pakistan's most popular province, which borders India's Punjab, revealed that the Chief Minister Mariam Nawaz has shown an interest in visiting her Indian counterpart to address the pressing issue of air pollution. Both Lahore and India's capital New Delhi have recently ranked among the world's most polluted cities. The Chief Minister Mariam Nawaz will be sending a letter to India's Punjab Chief Minister in the coming days, and she has expressed her willingness to visit India and extend an invitation for him to visit Pakistan. Raja Anwar, Punjab's Secretary for Environment and Climate Change, had told Al Jazeera. Anwar added that given the adverse climate conditions affecting the region, Pakistan is also considering hosting a regional climate conference in Lahore before the year ends. We recognise that these matters fall under external affairs requiring an approval from the federal government and relative stakeholders. But this situation is urgent, he emphasised. If this can bring Pakistan and India together along with other countries, why waste this opportunity? Yeah, why waste the opportunity? Since September, falling temperatures, changing atmospheric conditions and domestic emissions have severely affected Lahore and New Delhi, with air quality indicates AQI frequently surpassing 300 micrograms of PM 2.5. Fine participant matter measures 2.5 microns or smaller. This is far above the limit of 100 micrograms of PM 2.5 that is considered acceptable. The PM 2.5 particles are released from both human activities and natural events and pose serious health risks as they penetrate deep into human respiratory systems. Yeah, that can deeply affect their respiratory systems. With the ever-increasing air pollution levels, Nared's daughter of three-time former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and the prominent of normalising relations with India, has in recent days reiterated her commitment to pursuing climate diplomacy. Speaking at a Delhi event in Lahore on last Wednesday, she emphasised the need for both nations to collaborate on this issue. No matter this matter has to be resolved diplomatically with India, and I'm considering writing a letter to India's Punjab Chief Minister. This is not a political issue, this is a humanitarian one, she said. Nawaz further added that while her government is taking steps to address the crisis, Red Protocol's action from India is essential. Winds don't know there's a line border in between. This has to be done for the betterment for Indian people and their well-being, as well as for Pakistan people too, the Chief Minister has said. The plea for collaboration with India comes as Lahore has seen the presence of PM 2.5 exceed even 700 micrograms in recent days. The government's announced imposing a green lockdown in Lahore, a city of 50 million people, banning various commercial and construction activities. So this is just a little graph here that they have here. So pollution, the health impacts of air pollution. According to the WHO, air pollution kills some 7 million people a year worldwide. So in terms of the brain, pregnant women exposed to PM 2.5 can affect parental brain development. The eyes can cause irritation of the eyes, contracts formation, biphilias and dry eye diseases. That's really bad for your eyes. For your lungs, exposure linked to lung cancer, COPD, and chronic bronchitis there. So you can catch lung cancer as a result of the smog as well. For the heart, it has been linked to cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, and congestive heart failure. So it's caused and pancreas there. Evidence shows links to type 2 diabetes. Exposure can worsen insulin resistance, oxidizing stress, and systematic inflammation. So it's not rocket science, but obviously this would obviously have a detrimental effect on the healthcare systems of these nations as well, as it continues to happen. It could also stop the development of the next generation of children, because obviously they'll be affected by this smog. And it can, as it says there, the brain development, it could cause them to catch diseases or even cancer, God forbid, heart attack, strokes, and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really bad that they catch them. I wouldn't be surprised. I probably would not be surprised if they have like some kind of mandatory mask wearing of some sorts there to protect themselves from the smog, to try and help mitigate it for something. I think they should also look at, until they get the smog under control, I would recommend, obviously, if you're out there, perhaps maybe wearing whenever you're outside, perhaps even wearing some eyewear to protect yourself from the smog, like special goggles or something, perhaps maybe out there, as well as masks for the air you breathe out there, if that helps at all. I'm just making suggestions that may or may not help people. I know it's not the biggest of deals, but it may. During the early hours of November the 1st, according to live data monitoring and compiled by IQ Air, a Swiss climate group, New Delhi was the most polluted city in the world, with 585 milligrams of PM 2.5 in its atmosphere, closely followed by Lahore, which recorded 240 milligrams of PM 2.5. Mohammed Farooq Alam, Deputy Director at Pakistan's Punjab Environmental Protection Agency, explained that the worsening air quality during autumn and winter, resulting from various factors. Cold air is heavier than warm air and stinks close to the surface of the Earth, along with its particles it carries. As temperatures decrease after September, emissions from both human activities and natural events become concentrated within a dispersion area of 1 or 2 kilometers within the atmosphere, compared to over 12 to 15 kilometers during the summer. He told Al Jazeera, "It feels like living and breathing in a small, locked room with no ventilation." As Sam said, the sources of the pollution including industrial emissions, vehicle regulator traffic, residential and commercial outputs, stubble burning, a controversial practice in which farmers burn the remnants of existing crops and clear the ground in order to sow a new crop for the upcoming season. And last year, during the smog season, farmers in both countries were criticised for burning crop stubble, exacerbating air pollution. Yeah, see, so the little tiniest of things now, because they have this smog, the little tiniest things during the smog season, yeah, it's not good. Among various mitigation strategies, we have disclosed controlling of vehicular traffic, but the financial cost, which could reach billions, poses a significant challenge. The magnitude of the problem is enormous, he said. That's why the Provisional Secretary urged a shift away from blaming individual countries and called for raising awareness about the weather phenomenon contributing to this issue. And not only that, you should be teaching it into your, drilling this into your children. So from a state education point of view, children need to know about the effects of climate change and what's happening in their nations as well. Yeah, that while agricultural practices are similar in both countries, India's larger size results in higher volumes of crop stubble burning. Weather patterns indicate that the onset of eastern wind corridor, which will carry pollutants towards Pakistan, likely cause levels AQI to rise again by Sunday or Monday, he said. Yeah, so this is smoke rising from the burning stubble in a rice field in a village of Kannal in the northern state of Haryana, India. This was in late October there. Danwar Hemar Butt, co-director of Pakistan's Air Quality Initiative, the BAQI, a climate research and advocacy group, said the Chief Minister's suggestion to engage with her Indian counterpart necessarities and transboundary pollution management approach. The Mayoral Declaration among South Asian countries aims to develop such an approach, but was unsuccessful. Recent efforts to revive it are underway, but the specifics remain uncertain, he explained. The Mayoral Declaration, signed in 1998, is the only existing intergovernmental framework in South Asia addressing air pollution that includes Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Iran, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. According to an IQ Air report released in April 2023, South Asia remains the most severely affected region in the world for air pollution. While the World Health Organization recommends the average annual PM 2.5 levels should not exceed 5 micrograms per cubic meter, last year saw Bangladesh, Pakistan and India among the countries with the worst air quality indicators. Bangladesh recorded an alarming 79.9 milligrams, nearly 16 times higher than the WHO recommendation, while Pakistan scored 73.7 and India a record 54.4 micrograms. Yeah, this is just insane. Like, you got to knock it down. Like, you got to knock it down. The Lancet, a United Kingdom-based medical journal, in a recent report estimated that 1.6 million people in India died in 2021 due to air pollution. 1.6 million. That was in 2021. Now you could argue, obviously, that was around the time, like, everyone was just coming out of COVID, so that may have played a part in it too. But asserts that ultimately the solutions are clear, not even necessarily easy to implement for developing countries. Both sides must transition to cleaner energy sources across all sectors and implement effective management of crop waste, which requires significant investment and major shift in public behaviour, he said. But all these things, like everything, cost money. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say these economies aren't exactly booming right now, I'm going to say, despite them having big populations. But if they're not having serious conversations about it, they need to do. And they need to have a changing culture when it comes to about some of the things that they're used to normally doing, and really going out of their way to reduce any kind of emissions, reducing any kind of thing that will produce more smog in their countries. They need to have that serious conversation and be willing to say, look, we can't keep doing this. We need to do something different. We have to try something different. We have to. It's not always a case about throwing money at the problem. Yes, money does help solve some of these solutions, but sometimes it's just a case of going down to some of the simple basics that can be taught to people. And I think that's something that both governments need to do. especially nations out there in Asia who are suffering the worst of it all when it comes to the smog. It needs to be brought down. We talked, you're talking about air pollution. We've talked in the past on the channel about the air pollution in London, for example. And the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, has been trying to push that down in London, even though it's nowhere near the levels that you've seen that we're talking about here. Because there was a case of someone lost their life because of air pollution. And you saw their report there, up to 1.2 million people may have been directly affected by air smog. And that was in 2021. And we're in 2024 now, going into 2025, and they're still having this issue. Heads need to be knocked because people are dying as a result. People who do not need to die as a result. And I think that's really, really important to emphasize. Right, so let's go back to Ukraine, guys. So before we head near the end, because I'm coming up near to the hour mark, I do have one more funny video to see us out, but I'm going to cover some stories from the Kiev Independent. This is one of the websites that I use to gather news and whatnot from a war from the war in Ukraine more than anyone else. It's not always the most reliable, but it is one that gives me a lot of insight into what's happening there. And we'll also have a quick look at the deep state map as well. So the first one I've got for you guys is mass Russian drone attacks on Kiev leaves residential buildings offices damaged here. We'll come to that general staff report in a moment. So a Russian drone strike on Kiev on the 2nd of November caused a fire in a 16-story residential building and an office building, local authorities have reported. Russian forces downed 37 out of 71 Shala-type drones and other identified drones launched by Russia overnight, the Air Force had reported. 21 other drones were lost and 5 more flew back towards Russia, it added. It's interesting that it never occurred to me that some drones actually fly back to their positions. I always thought they always kamikaze. Maybe that's just me. All drones are threatening the city were neutralized, the Kiev city administration had said, without specifying the number of drones shot down over the capital. The air raid alert in Ukraine's capital lasted more than 5 hours, with explosions reported in Kiev and the surrounding area. The blaze, which broke out on the upper floors and the residential buildings of the city's Sagorsky district, spread across the area for roughly 50 square meters. Ukraine's State Emergency Service reported the fire has been extinguished. The attack damaged several apartments on the building's 15th and 16th floor, with the top floor suffering the most severe destruction. First responders evacuated 18 residents, according to local authorities. One of the injured was transferred to the local hospital, the Kiev mayor Vladimir Klitschko had said. Debris from downed drones hit the office building in Kiev's Solovsky district, causing a fire on one of the floors, the mayor had reported. Debris was also found in the city's Dnipropetrovsk, Peterskovsky, Helogosky districts, and the attacks damaged several cars, according to local authorities. No casualties were reported. One elderly woman suffered from shock, and a policeman was poisoned with burning products. The November 2nd attack is the latest in a series of drone strikes targeting civilian infrastructure in Ukraine's capital. Russia attacked Kiev with drones on October the 29th, injuring 6 people in Kiev's Somolovsky district, authorities have reported. Russia launched over 2,000 attack drones in both civilian and military states across Ukraine last month. With the Kiev reported on November the 1st, Kremlin forces continue their offensive in eastern and southern Ukraine. That's one report there. This is every morning they report this to General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces. So Russia has lost over 697,680 troops since the start of the war. Let's look at these numbers. So Russia has lost 697,680 troops since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24th, 2022. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces had reported on November the 2nd. This number includes 1,270 casualties Russian forces suffered over the past day. According to the report, Russia has also lost 9,170 tanks, 18,487 armoured Viking vehicles, 28,114 vehicles and fuel tanks, 20,076 artillery systems, 1,244 multiple rocket launch systems, 994 air defence systems, 369 planes, 329 helicopters, 18,117 drones, 28 ships and boat, and 1 submarine. It's always 1 submarine. It's never up. That's one number that's never updated. But yeah, the It looks like they're coming up to that 700,000 mark here. But obviously, this is not 100% accurate. This is what their intelligence and what their sources and those on the ground are gathering from the source of information that the Kiev Independent gets from Telegram. Is mainly from Telegram, from Ukrainian generals and soldiers who report out from there, and then they provide that information to this. That's where most of the information comes from. Some of it is with reporting on the ground, but most of it is via Telegram, directly from generals and whatnot, from generals and soldiers on the front lines. But in terms of this report, obviously this is the best accurate information that they could possibly get. It's not an absolute guarantee that this is, but this is something they put out every morning on the Kiev Independent. But I don't always cover it because, yeah, I do get some criticism over it, to be fair. But I don't have a report like on Ukraine. It's very rare that I get a report on Ukraine and what their numbers are as well. This is a new one here. Russia attack over Ukraine kills 5 and injures 68 over the past day. So Russian attacks against Ukraine killed 5 people and injured 68 others over the past day, regional authorities had said on November the 2nd. Ukrainian forces downed 39 out of 78 Shahar-type drones and other unidentified drones launched by Russia overnight. 21 other drones were lost and 5 more flew towards Russia, it added. Debris from downed drones caught residential buildings and office in BF during a long-hour attack, local authorities had said. Russian forces also reportedly fired a Kh-31P cruise missile against Ukraine overnight. 2 S-400 missiles hit a police station in Kharkiv, killing police officer Andriy Marvisko. 36 police officers, 9 civilians and 1 rescuer were injured in the attack, according to the Interior Ministry. A police officer lost their life. The strike damaged 20 residential buildings as well as heating and water supply networks and 19 vehicles, local authorities had said. Russian forces also attacked 5-story residential buildings in the town of Kuspis in Kharkiv Oblast, injuring a 44-year-old man and 2 women aged 65 and 75, according to the governor Olive Shishbov. A Russian drone also hit a residential building in the city of Sumy. At least 8 people suffered injuries, local authorities have reported. 4 people were killed in the settlements of Sulioli, Yakoviska and Chaskavar in Donetsk Oblast. The governor Vladimir Fushkin said 4 more people were injured in the region over the past day. Yeah, that's where the most, obviously that's where the main fighting is, where Russia are pushing most in the Donetsk. In Kherson Oblast, Russian forces target 15 settlements, including the regional centers of Kherson. 7 people were injured, Governor Oleksandr Proskin had reported there. Let's just see any other reports here that I haven't. Interesting one here. Ukraine is to produce anti-drone missiles with Belgian manufacturer here. So the Belgian manufacturer agreed with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on a joint production of missiles to counter drones, Strategic Industry Minister Heinrich Smyshkin had said today. This cooperation will strengthen the Ukrainian defense industry and the protection of critical infrastructure from enemy drones, he said. In recent months, Russia has ramped up drone strikes, which reduce its most powerful and harder to intercept cruise and ballistic missiles. More of the 2,000 drone strikes were launched against Ukraine during October, the General Staff reported on the 1st, which breaks the previous record set by September to nearly 700. The 2 companies signed a moratorium of cooperation. The work between Kiev and Brussels is expected to expand the technology transfer and production of missile components in the future, the minister added. Phase is reported the only company worldwide developing, manufacturing and supplying a complete rocket system, including fire control systems, weapons and ammunition. It is specialized in field-to-air ground 700-meter rocket systems. Interesting. We already know about this, but this is one of the latest stories here. North Korean soldiers sent to Ukrainian border equipped with standard infantry weapons, military intelligence has said here. Yeah. So Russia has armed North Korean troops deployed near the border with Ukraine with infantry weapons, Ukraine's military agency has reported. According to the HUR, North Korean soldiers received 60mm mortars, AK-12 rifles, machine guns, sniper rifles, Felix anti-tank guided missiles, and handheld anti-tank grenade launchers. They reported receiving some night vision devices, thermal imagery, columnar sights, and binoculars. So they definitely have some people on the inside, that's for sure. According to the Financial Times, Ukrainian intelligence officials are skeptical regarding their combat effectiveness of the North Korean troops, citing communication issues with their Russian counterparts as the main hurdle Moscow and Pyongyang will have to bridge. Russia deployed more than 7,000 North Korean troops from Russia, approximately Krelak, to the Ukrainian border, the agency has said. See, we're hearing mixed reports. One report said 10,000, didn't we? These numbers always coincide with those of Washington's announced earlier this week. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that some 8,000 North Korean troops are amassed in Russia's Kursk Oblast, where Ukraine began a cross-border incursion in August and still holds significant swathes of the territory. So, North Korea sent nearly 12,000 troops to Russia, including 500 officers and 3 generals. Yes, so I knew they were sending officers and generals. I was aware of that. I was definitely aware of that, because otherwise it wouldn't work, because they wouldn't be able to communicate. HR reported soldiers are reportedly currently undergoing training at 5 military camps at the Russian Far East. North Korea's entry into war comes as Russia's long and grinding campaign in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk Oblast has dramatically gained pace in recent days. Analysts say Russian forces are advancing at pace not seen since the early months of the war. That's very concerning, but they are making advances there. I'm just seeing if I'm just going to do a refresh just to see if there's anything else worth covering for you guys here on the report side here. We covered that. That's about the US election. No, it doesn't seem to appear to be anything else to add there. Some interesting stuff, obviously, there. Some of the latest news, obviously, we've gathered there from what's been happening there, guys. So before we wrap things up with a funny video, I just want to show you guys the latest images and from the deep state map. The link is in the description. You guys want to check it out yourself. This is the deep state map. You can check it out yourself. The latest report, this is still from yesterday, so they've not updated it for today, for the 2nd of November, which is this has been recording. But this is the current situation here. So I'll pull it back out and just explain for context. So for context, the green areas where Ukraine did its original counteroffensive. The red territory is Russia-controlled Ukrainian territory. The purple is is where they claim to be liberated by Russia, is what they're claiming. There's blue territory in which they've incursed into Russia. And then obviously down in purple there you can see the annexed Crimea on the peninsula down there as well. So just for referencing in some of the colours if you want to try to understand it. And all these square dots and whatnot are where there's positions of reinforcements of forces and whatnot. And the arrows are basically of where they're trying to push into territory, of where they're pushing into territory. So far it's all Russia pushing in terms of territory here. Now I want to start with Sumy here first, guys, because I want to have a look at Sumy. They don't indicate any arrows or whatnot here, but I'm just going to pull it back a little bit because I want to see how much, if any, has been made here. Just going to go back a couple of days here. So I'm pulling it back. It's going all the way back to, all the way back to the 20th of October. This is all the way back to the 20th of October. I've just pulled this all the way back to. And you can see there's not been much movement at all there, really. Except that tiny little bit next to Gloskov there, you see, there was a little bit of incursion there, but doesn't seem to have gotten far there. But at the moment, they're still holding this territory, and it is a pain. But it is a pain for Russia. That is for sure. There's definitely been gains, unfortunately, because there's been gains here. I can tell there's been gains here. So this was territory along here that they held for quite a long period, Ukraine. But it looks like if I start pulling it back a little bit, there may be some of the territory may start. There appears to be some movement. There appears to be some. There appears to be some movement. Yeah. So throughout October, they managed to make some gains here. Although most of the territory, I'm pulling it back forward now, but you can see, although throughout most of October, they managed to hold a little bit here, but Russia have made slight advances here in the north here of the battle lines, really. So they have been managed here, but it looks like Russia are pushing through here, trying to claim skiing revolves here. This main road here is obviously a supply line, so they're looking to try and push to the roads, to the main roads here, to try and make it more difficult for supplies and whatnot to get to troops and whatnot there. So that's the looks like it's there. And if I just pull back a little bit here, so I'll just show you guys here. So there's Dymo Zaporizhzhia. The territory we're looking at is in the region of Donetsk, and this is where Ukraine have been losing the most ground. And if I just let me make sure I get the screen just right so you guys can see. So if I literally start pulling it back, you will see the arrows. So at the moment it's on the 31st of October, and I'm just going to go back another day, 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 back 22nd, 21st of October, 20th of October, 19th, 18th, 17th, 16th, 15th, 14th, 13th, 12th, 11th, 10th of October. Going to go all the way back to the 1st of October to show just how much that they have pushed, guys. This is, yeah, so here is where they've made the most gains more than anyway. Earlier this year, Avika fell, and they were holding on to that for such a long period. Right here, and you can see the main just under there, just below it. You can see the main city of Donetsk. Obviously, that's been controlled by Russia, but they have been pushing and pushing and pushing here ever since. And I'm just going to emphasize. I just want to make sure I can get, because my screen's a bit different to your screens, what you see live. But yeah, here you go. So 3rd of October, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and you can slowly see they're slowly still pushing, and then you can just see there just one day ago there was a big push of their supplies there. It looks like the small town of Holorika there looks like it's been overwhelmed. Vashkin here, this main road here, they're looking to push along here, getting closer and closer to it. You can see down at the bottom there, Hutkvix and Kalaviska there. You can see it's starting to get completely surrounded there, that territory there that they were trying to hold. And they're pushing even closer there. And they're starting to do the same for Vashkin there. This is 22nd of October. And they pushed even more further forward. 24th. 25th, they've already, if they're not already in the town, they're already pushed into it. This is the 26th, 27th, and you can see Hoxvix has fallen there during that month. This is the 28th of October. They're already taken the town from the looks of it. 29th, 30th, and you see Koloviska, they've had to pull out. They couldn't hold the territory there any further. 31st, and now obviously yesterday the 1st. So you can just see this is in a whole month they have pushed. Although to some people it's saying it's not really a lot, but it's still a huge amount of it's still gains, it's still ground that they are taking, guys. Here. So yeah, that's where the most territory that Russia are claiming throughout this war. So they haven't been able to stop it, basically. They've not been able to hold positions. Every time they push back, they just can't hold positions. They just keep being forced to hold back. They try and hold us out for as long as they can, and then they're forced to pull back and concede because they can't afford to lose They can't afford to lose soldiers. You know, Russia can afford to throw away soldiers, and they're going to be obviously using a North Korean one. Nothing really too much happens on this border here, but on Kurshkin, on the city of Kurshkin, because the Dymo River covers that. So there's nothing really happening too much there. There's not really too much happens along here too much, but sometimes there is some pushback here along these regions. But as you can see, most of it is not really much movement here. They seem to hold some of the territory pretty comfortably here. So they are bogged down pretty well here in this area of Ukraine. So you can see they're pretty solid in holding down these areas here, as I'm just going back and forth in the dates so you can guys just see an emphasis there. But it's this blob right here that's right in the front and center of your screen. That's where they just cannot seem to hold position whatsoever. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin said at the start said that he wanted to claim all of Donetsk by the end of this year. So he's got less than 2 months to do that. I don't know if he will, but you can see some of the borderline there of that territory we were just looking at. That borderline there, that's basically the region of Donetsk. Whether he will get all of that by the end of this year remains to be seen, but they are still making progress nonetheless. So it has been, obviously lots of lives have been lost, and and this war is completely and totally unnecessary. We know it's completely unnecessary, but they are still losing this war, but it's a very, very slow one. It's very, very dragged out, and Ukraine just needs to is trying everything it possibly can, and one of the biggest problems is obviously soldier numbers. And I've said their conscription. They need to conscript more Ukrainian men, more younger men. I know they're a bit hesitant to do so, but they need to get more Ukrainian men on board, because they are very careful with their soldiers, but even still, they still do lose soldiers, and lots of civilians are losing their lives in this conflict as well, which is an absolute tragedy, you guys. But anyway, I hope you found the state map, the deep state map, informative and helpful for you guys. Just before we head out, I have one final video for you guys. Now, sadly, for those particular here in the UK, we're very sad to say that Jane Goodley has sadly passed away. She was fighting. She was in on her last legs, unfortunately, and she is no longer with us. And my thoughts are with Janie and with all her friends and family in at this time that she's no longer with us. But I wanted to give you guys something to. There's been lots of amazing funny videos that she has done throughout her time. And I wanted to share this one with you guys because she's a very good impersonator of Nicola Sturgeon. It's an old one, obviously, but this is one of her during the COVID pandemic, of her basically speaking as Nicola Sturgeon. And I hope you guys get a laugh out of this, guys.
Hi there, it's Nicola here. I'm wearing my wee animal print top because I'm feeling like a tiger today. Just want to give you all an update. No, the virus hasn't went away. We're still having to make sure that we're washing our hands. And I want to reiterate about the hard surfaces. Now, if you see something hard near you, make sure you get a good clean before you touch it. Take you that what you will. I've just had news for Westminster that Boris is looking for a new public spokesperson to talk for the government, and it's 100 grand that's gone. Personally, I think they should pick somebody for Glasgow. I'll not say who, but I know there's a few people would be able to spin that shite into something good. Right, I want everybody to try and keep themselves safe. We know that the virus hasn't went away, and we know that there's going to be wee outbreaks. So see if you think that you're back to normal. Listen up, Spunky, you're no. Right, we're going to go over for the first question.
I was just wondering, do you think people should feel selfish for going on holiday?
No, I don't think anybody's selfish. I'm just saying to people that wherever you might choose to go abroad, they might get a pandemic outbreak, the COVID might flare up, and then they can't come home because of quarantine. I'm not saying anybody's selfish. I'm just saying, who the fuck knows what's going to happen? And yet again, I'm no Misty Moonface with a fucking crystal ball that can tell them any different. I'm just saying to people to be aware and take care. Everybody deserves a holiday. That's why I'm going down the caravan again this weekend with all the lassies. Me and all the Sandras are going to go Toronto this weekend. Right, over to another question from another journalist.
Are you aware that the opposition parties at Holyrood have been complaining about these briefings themselves? Not the fact that the briefings are happening, but the fact that they're broadcast at length.
Well, to be honest, there's nothing to stop Boris from having a daily update on the COVID pandemic, but obviously Boris doesn't want to do that. He's got other things busy that he's off a busy way. But of course the opposition's going to be annoyed that I'm getting some airtime on the BBC. But I'm here to talk to the Scottish public about the effects of the COVID pandemic and see if that's annoying they fuckers. Then they're going to have to just suck it up. Because at the end of the day, I'm doing my job. Right, I'm out of here. So, make sure you keep everybody safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, 2 meters apart, don't go into crowded places. Right, where's my clicky pen? Fucking feet are killing me. Frank, get the door. I want a sausage supper today.
I love that ending. Frank, get the door. Get the door! Oh, bless bless. And I might do a couple more throwbacks, throughout the week for you guys, because Jane it'd be nice to get some throwbacks for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that throwback one there. Dear, she was wonderful, guys. She was, bless her heart. So, guys, before I wrap up, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's watched along. What do you guys think of some of the stories we covered? We covered about armed groups kidnapping military personnel in Bolivia from CNN. The Pentagon is going to send additional $425 million in military aid to Ukraine soon. We're talking about over 1 million mpox vaccines have been allocated to Africa. We're talking about Donald Trump and his playbook that he's preparing for the election should he lose as well. We talked about the climate diplomacy, about smog and the air pollution in India and Pakistan and what could be done there. We also looked at some of the updates and things that have been happening in the war in Ukraine, as well as looked at the deep state map as well. Let me know your thoughts and more about all these stories down in the comment section below, what you guys thought of them. And just before I go, just wanted to say a massive thank you to the gang behind me. These are the gang behind me. The reversible octopus sitting on top of the orb is Ollie. And you can get custom emojis of Ollie if you are a YouTube member. He is very friendly. He's very nice. He's okay. Unfortunately, the guy, the octopus next to him is Pingu. And Pingu is he's known to be a communist penguin. He was at the BRICS summit last week, I believe it was, chatting with Vladimir Putin about protecting penguins. So he was at BRICS, believe it or not. And Cash Dummy seems to have fallen off a cliff, so I don't know what happened to Cash Dummy. But the orb empowers this channel, as does the lava lamp. So you can empower them by becoming a YouTube member for 99p. So do consider that as well. So just before I head out, just one final thing to say. If you haven't already, please consider hitting the like button while you're here. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.